Good afternoon, everybody. This is Steve with another installment of Alliance of the Sacred Sons update. This is for update 0.8.1. Today we will be reviewing the Emperor system and a update of the new UI. This will give a preview of what most of the game will look like soon. We're going to talk about the global event system. We're going to talk about some changes to the story system, a little bit of internal stuff. And then we're kind of rounding off some of the systems that we've been working on earlier. So without further ado, let's kind of show off what we've got. All right, so we're going to show what the new system looks like. You can see now the graphics haven't changed, but we've got some motion going on here. And this is going to be kind of a preview of what this looks like with the new version. I'll just go ahead and I'm not going to really put anything in. This is just kind of to show off a few things. So we're not really playing a game. All right, so we're going to go ahead and load a new game, and I'll be back in just a minute once it loads. All right, so we're going to jump right in, and we're going to show you what the Emperor screen looks like. So you can see we kind of have a completely new screen, and this is going to be what the new AI looks like, so you'll see a lot of the cues. So there's quite a few new concepts. So we have the main screen. Your age does play a key. The big thing that as Emperor, your action points have actually increased. Now they stay stable. They're no longer random. You have a base of 5 AP, and they can go up or down depending on two things. Your spirit, which is basically your mental health, and then your physical health, which is your physical health. And this can go anywhere from perfect to dying. And of course, it will affect your AP. So your spirit is a new concept that's actually pretty important. So the basic thing is, just like people, we like hanging around certain people. We feel good when good things happen. We don't feel good when bad things happen. We like hanging around our friends. We don't like hanging around people that we don't like. Well, as Emperor, you feel the same way. So in the spirit of keeping Alliance of the Sacred Sons, its core mission is you are the Emperor. You are a person in this world. So when you do actions, when you talk to people, it actually affects your spirit, as do certain events and other things. So your spirit basically goes from neutral to ecstatic and then down to despondent. And of course this affects not only your action points, because people that are depressed don't do much, but also it affects your health. If you have a low spirit, you have a much higher chance of losing your health as well. Now you have several ways of combating this. You can simply rest. It takes all your action points, but you get spirit and health up to proportionate of what you have. You can engage in a hobby, which basically will increase your spirit. It's basically time taking out for yourself to get away from the pressures of being Emperor. And then you can improve a trait. You can select one of these traits to improve. Depending on how low it is, you may see an increase. And so those cost the normal amount of action points. So let's go ahead and engage in hobby just to show what that looks like. As you can see, I lost an action point, but now I'm satisfied. My spirit went up a little bit. So you want this to be pretty high because it affects everything you do. It affects your action points, your health. It affects how your success rate, basically your power when you're doing actions. So let's talk a little bit about your individual traits. Intelligence kind of underpins everything you do. It is a base for your decision score and how well it takes to do. Your charm affects directly your interactions with your pops, so it affects your love, and it also affects how well you make friends. If you have a high charm, you are more likely to succeed in getting to know character and basically getting to know people. Inspire is good for the speech-making actions. You can inspire your people. It also affects events, but things like give praising speech, support, anywhere where you have a public action, your Inspire will affect that. Intimidate is an actual new mechanic. You will actually have the ability to intimidate characters when you do an action, which I'll show you in a little bit, and this score contributes to that. And social skill is kind of a catch-all that affects essentially how likable you are, and how, not so much like charm, but it's almost like protocol. When you anytime you interact with people, are you professional? Do you come across as emperor-y, is that even a word? And so this actually affects all of your actions, positive or negative. you have now what's called the inner circle mechanism. So you can have currently up to 5 people that have to be your friends or lovers or your spouse. They are part of your inner circle. You can ask them to be your inner circle in an action, and these are basically your most trusted advisors. The advantage is once they're in your inner circle, they provide a small spirit boost every turn. So the more people you have in your inner circle, the more base increase it provides. Also, they will never deny an action unless it is a harmful action. So if it's a normal action you ask them to do, if it's something like a viceroy asking them to increase production or something like that, they will always agree, unless it's hurtful, like you ask them to step down or something like that. But the problem is if they betray you, if they fall out of being your friend, or their trust falls below a certain level, then they will fall out of your inner circle and you will take a big spirit hit, because obviously nobody likes to be betrayed by their friends. Alright, so we'll go ahead and get out of that. Let's see what that looks like. So let's go ahead and open up War Prime. So this is something minor. One thing we've changed is now, instead of the change in relationship being just random, because it was behind the scenes, but you really had no idea when you would change a relationship. Now, anytime you get your trust level to 100, the next turn the relationship will change to the higher level. And if trust goes down to 0, the relationship will change to the lower level, and then it will reset at 50. So you'll be able to see that I'm making progress. For instance, right now we're allies. So if I wanted to try and make her a friend, I could get to know character. Looks like she'll definitely agree to that. We'll confirm action. So not only have I got intel on her, but now you see my her trust of me has increased. So let's say I give a praising speech. So she'll definitely be okay with that. So now you see it's blue. Now we're getting close to 100. Once this gets to 100, my relationship will increase to friendship. At that point, she will be eligible to be added to the inner circle. So let me show you what that looks like. Let's go to the house overview. Let's find actually we don't have anyone that's friendly with us. Well, let's do this then. Let's go to Neosiris. And by the way, some other changes. You can see we've improved some of the planets. All the planets now have ray tracing. This is actually the only planet that doesn't. It's a radiated planet. But all the other planets actually have that. So let's go in here. Okay, so you can see I'm friends with this Octavia Tetsuo. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can add her to the inner circle. So you have to have a trust of at least 50, which we have. And then, of course, we're friends. So let's try and invite her to the inner circle. Yeah, she definitely is going to do that. I'd be honored. Thanks for asking. Yay. So now, when we go to the Emperor info, here she is. So now she will, and you see my spirit went up a little bit because now I have a new friend. That's exciting. By the way, we're also going to be adding a skill tree coming soon. You'll be able to actually pick specific skills to level up. Think of it kind of like if you ever played Endless Space 2. It's kind of like that system. And then you'll have separate Zil intel, and of course that's the whole Zil plot that will be added in 0.9, so that's not there yet. So let's talk a little bit about intimidation. So you have the opportunity to intimidate when you talk to someone as well. So let's say we're getting them to demand trade network participation. We can either go with a friendly attitude, or we can intimidate. You can see the decision score changes, and lower is better. You want it to be lower because you want it to be lower than this number. So you see it dropped a fair amount. Now we don't know for sure, but it added basically my intimidate score with a little bit of social skill to that. And of course you see your Grand Vizier says, do keep in mind the grudge level increase and their trust will drop. So we don't want to intimidate our own person, but of course that's basically how that works. So I just want to kind of show that. So a little bit of behind the scenes stuff, and I'll kind of show you. See here on Neosiris, we talked a little bit about the planets. You see how it's got all the stars now have real-time light sourcing, and the planets, so they are actually coming with light. So you will see light glinting off the sun. Let's see. Let's go here. Okay, here's a new greenhouse. You can see that's kind of, oh, I'm sorry, that's ice, but you see how the light is glinting off. So we're going to continue to work with these models. We've also upgraded to the latest model of Unity, the latest stable, which is 2019-1 as of this recording. And we've upgraded C# to 4.2 from 2.0. So everything is just moving much faster. You see things zoom in a lot quicker. Everything is much nicer. Everything kind of zooms in and out. You kind of see we've also changed. It's over here now. So we've definitely made some changes in preparation for the new UI update. So that pretty much is the Emperor system. So now let's take a look at the new event system. So we'll go ahead and do a new turn. We'll go ahead and, the science has also been updated. So we now have many more. We now have over 50 reforms that you can do. We've got quite a few, especially prosperity. And that's going to be added, of course, once we have the ZIL and the combat system. More of these will be available as well. So we'll have well over 100 reforms once that system is complete. But for now, there is quite a bit to discover in all the categories. So there'll be a lot of research. So we'll go ahead and set our research. We'll go ahead and do prosperity, divinity, because we've added several things to that. And you can kind of go in there and kind of see the different changes. So we'll go ahead and set our budget. So we can move to the next turn, so I can show off the revamped. And I'm not going, and again, I'm not playing the game, I'm just kind of getting to where I'm getting. So we're going to go ahead and end the turn. And so the event system is sort of a byplay of the story system. Now, stories are meant to be more long-term. In fact, we're even kind of working on an idea where they'll act like quests, where they proceed once you have done a certain thing. And then there are just the stories that are just stories. You don't have to do anything specific. They just have sort of branching, choose your own adventure type stories. Very exciting thing. It's a very exciting part of adding kind of something to you being the Emperor. We really want to make it feel as though you're a person and you're a character within this universe and not just the Gray Eminence. That's been a big design goal from the very beginning. And global events are a big way of making that happen. Now, global events are one-shot events. They don't have branching. They don't last over many months. You know the results immediately. And they tend to be larger events. They tend to affect larger, like a planet, a system, a house. There's events that affect just you. It just depends. So they're broad in scope, but they're one shot. And they actually have probabilities depending on what you choose. Now you see here I have an active event, so you cannot continue. We now have a new temporary icon. We're adding all new icons. Remember, this is all going to be revamped. You'll probably see the new UI by the next feature update. This will all be different. So let's go ahead and open up the global event. Oh my, snakes alive. The last you were turning in for the night of a very long day, wrangling with your primes over planetary development. As you're about to go to bed, your priority alert comm flashes. Trying not to curse too loudly, you answer what you hope doesn't come out as a snarl. Sneeve Hawkstorm here, this is better be good. And you can kind of read this. Basically, you have a homegrown venomous snake that has broken out of a zoo on planet, what planet? Walden? Oh, that's lovely. I love that. So you will typically have 4 options, and they are tied typically to your primes. So you will get a better chance of a better event if you have a prime that is good at that. For instance, Intel option, and we're going to update the UI to show the prime and show their skills, so you can kind of get a better way to kind of make that decision. But you have there's always going to be a good ending and a bad ending. And you have a better chance of getting the good ending if you select an option that's tied to a prime that's more skilled. So this is another reason to have good primes, as we kind of add in the Celestial Council, which consists of the primes and of course you. This is going to be more and more important. So you just don't stick in random people just for the political boost. You will actually want, or you could, but then you know that you have a much worse chance of option if something comes up. So we basically can do nothing. We can get the Inquisitors finding the snake. We can introduce its natural predator, or we can basically pound it from orbit. So let's go with the military option. Why not? What harm could there do? All right, so you see it hits immediately. So a few minutes later, lets you know the strike was a complete fiasco. The strike was mistargeted, hit a major population center, killing 10 million pops. Need to fix that. That's a tag that needs to be misspelled. So anyway, so I killed 10 million pops, and I lost 20 trusts from my war prime. So that is what happened there. So those events pop up fairly frequently. There are more rare events. Obviously, there's an event that has a comet or an asteroid hitting, which can create a lot of damage. Those are obviously more serious events. Those will not happen as often. So you will get kind of the funnier events more. And of course, more and more events will be added. The main thing I wanted to show you, obviously, that new system to show how that works, but then also show the new UI as we transition towards kind of how we'll be doing things. You see, it's cleaner. The choices are easier to find. They're now more easily color coded, and of course, you'll have more information about which prime is better. So that pretty much is. Story Manager. So everyone can write their own stories. We actually have a tag. You saw a tag inadvertently there. But anyone can write a story. A story has 3 XML files. It has a base story file, which has the title, the type of story, the nodes used, etc. And then we have a node file, which has all the different nodes. And this is where you actually see the text, what type it is, and then what choices you're given. And then the choice file, which has a list of all the choices and text and results. And those are, when you see end story, you have tags that can give results. So it's very easy to write. You don't have to have any programming knowledge whatsoever. It's entirely XML driven. I'm actually going to be writing a tutorial on how to write stories because I think people would actually find that interesting, as well as providing a template, XML template that basically you just have to fill out. So that's going to be coming out probably this week or next week because I think it'd be cool to see what people do. And then you can literally just put them in the resource file folder on your when you have Alliance installed through Steam. So it's very easy to pick up. I'm going to be starting to add more and more mod functionality. A lot of things that you see are modded through either text files or XML files. In fact, most everything except for the graphics can actually be externally done. So as the game gets closer to early release, that's something I'm going to be doing towards that. So all right, so that's pretty much the main stuff. We've talked about the global event system. We've talked about the Emperor system. We've talked about adding the new UI and what that looks like. We've talked about the story manager and how that's been updated and how you can now write your own stories. We've talked about the updates to the reforms and how we've added over 50 reforms now. So that's pretty much the main stuff. So we will continue to add. We hope to have an update about once a week at this point as we kind of retrofit the UI. Very excited about where that's going. Can't wait to show you guys. So until then, thank you very much for watching.